Hi, this is Matthew Skolch riding for Westby Racing. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe.
Plus.
After scoring only 16 points in the first 3 races, the number 1 is on the move. While Petrucci and Skolch fight it out at the top of the leaderboard, Gagne is hot on their heels. Can the champ make it 2 in a row? We find out right now, live on FS2. You're locked into the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. The round, Dynapac MotoAmerica Superbikes at Ridge Motorsports Park. And it's time for the Medallia Superbike class, race number 2 from Shelton, Washington. We call this place simply the Ridge. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside 2-time world champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, here in Medallia Superbike class, we have had 4 different race winners so far this season as we approach the halfway point. But since they unloaded motorcycles off the truck, Jake Gagne has been head and shoulders above everyone.
Yeah, he kind of, when we went to Road America, he didn't finish on the podium, and I would have never thought that we'd see him finish a race in a Moto America race, finishing the race and not being on the podium. But he's come here, and since they've unloaded this bike, it's been amazing. We see some highlights from yesterday, lowlights here for Jake Lewis. He will not be rejoining us today as he has a thumb injury. On our second restart of the race, Jake Gagne got to the front with his teammate Cam Peterson and Matthew Skolch and Petrucci following in 3rd and 4th. Petrucci was able to get underneath Matthew Skolch here as they went into turn number 6, but the gap was still just a little bit too big from the number 1 and 16. And you can see here, Cam Peterson kept his teammate honest for about the first 4 or 5 laps, but Gagne is on a roll, Greg, and this is what these guys got to be scared of.
Yeah, and here's the roll. After the first 3 races of the season, he only scored 16 points. He was 10th. After 5 races, 5th, and now he's only 16 points back after 9 in 3rd place. As for Gagne, he's hanging out right now on the grid with our very own Jamie Howe. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Greg. You know, you think about a defending champion and the weight on their shoulders of having to dig out of a hole like Jake Gagne has been doing since the beginning of this season. You think that adds some pressure, but for Jake Gagne, there is none. You say you can't even think about it right now. The environment around you, everybody's so calm, chill. You're just out there riding. What effect does that have on the way you race?
Yeah, just one race at a time. That's all we can do. You know, this Yamaha's running really great this weekend, so we'll just focus it on today's race. We got 16 laps ahead of us. Like I said, this is a fun track. I think we'll have for some good racing. Everybody's going to step it up today, so we got to do the same, and we'll see what happens. It'll be a fun one. Get off to a good start and see what happens.
It's a 2-horse race for the Yamaha team. His teammate, Cameron Peterson, is standing by with Hannah Lopa.
It is, looking to chase down Jake Gagne and close that gap. Cam Peterson has been having a breakout season this year on the Yamaha with 5 podiums, including his first win last round. Cam, we've heard you say over and over again how good the bike is working for you. So what does it take from you as the rider to keep that momentum going?
Yeah, I'm learning every single weekend, you know. The nice thing is, I've said it before, there's no secrets in this team. So, yeah, just seeing what Jake's doing in the data and you know, I need to see what he's doing on track. But like I said, our bikes are so similar that it's kind of up to me now. So I'm figuring things out slowly. You know, every single weekend I'm learning and just slowly chipping away at it. So just going to keep this momentum going, and yeah, hopefully by the end of the season we're a lot closer to him than we are right now. But yeah, just having so much fun riding this motorcycle and working with this team. It's just good vibes all around. So looking forward to race 2. It's a hot one, so ready to go to war with the guys.
Greg, Jason, let's see if the progress continues for Cameron Peterson.
Oh yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing how it ends up, Jason. But let's take a look at the Ridge Motorsports Park, because it's quite challenging, but there are plenty of places to pass.
Yeah, one last rip around this place. That chicane that you see right off the start is the one we got to get through, Greg, and it is a great passing opportunity as well. Turns 1, 2, 3, head back up that hill. Turn 6, the big long left. There's some passing opportunities down into turn 8. Then some more passing opportunities in 11 and 12 and 13 as you come back down that ridge and back onto the front straightaway. So you got to get a little creative here. It's difficult to pass, especially if you have guys within a 10th or 2 seconds of each other. So it's a little bit difficult, but you can make some passes here.
Let's take a little bit more of an intimate look at Ridge Motorsports Park with our very own Roger Hayden. It's time for Ducati Fast Lap.
I'm on board the Ducati V4S. Let's look at some corners to watch for here at the Ridge, starting with the chicane. We've seen a lot of action here last year off the start. All the riders trying to funnel through there in the one line. Then also turn 7. This tricky blind right-hander that drops down. A lot of guys will use the water tank on the left to use a reference point getting into turn 8. Then turn 13. Maybe the slowest corner of any corners we go to on any circuit. Really hard braking. You'll see a lot of passes here. But the tricky part is making the pass and not running wide.
Danilo Petrucci, your championship points leader, looking to extend again. He got a couple extra in the book over his championship rival, the number 11, Matthew Skoltz. They're going to get after it in about 4 minutes when we return. Season has gone in. Yeah, Danilo Petrucci has had his ups and downs, but the way this MotoAmerica Medallia Superbike season has gone, he is still the points leader because everyone has had a couple of races they probably wish they could have back. And there has been a budding rivalry between these two. This is a battle at our last race at Road America. Final lap, squeezing him in the outside. And Matthew Skoltz on the 11 takes his first victory of the season. That was some aggressive racing there. And you see how pumped Skoltz was to do it straight up. And then on Friday here, even higher drama. First of all, engine problems for Petrucci, who, by the way, is trying to learn this track. He's never been here before, so he loses a whole bunch of laps. They didn't even have the bike ready for the next session, so he lost some time in the second session as well before they finally had the bike prepared. And then at the end of that session, you see him sitting there waiting while he could have had laps out of the racetrack. Then watch this, at the end, on purpose, he bumps into Skoltz and also Max Flinders, and a gesture as well. That's understandable in English or Italian. I believe Skoltz actually buzzed by him pretty quickly on the cool-down lap, didn't run into him. But Petrucci wasn't happy about that, and the general buildup of anxiety between these two riders who are 1 and 2 in points.
And then also, you know, that session too, they were playing some cat and mouse early on, not wanting to go back and forth. And, you know, I think for these two, they probably put it behind them. They're not even thinking about it anymore. You know, they're just focused on the race. And, you know, racing, the tension is high always. You know, you're battling for a championship, and there's so much on the line, and, you know, you're just always on that edge.
Well, forget the drama. I think the real change here is Petrucci had so few laps all weekend long. You've got to figure he's learning both himself, and then they're making adjustments to the motorcycle, and he doesn't have to serve a grid penalty because of that bump that he had there. He had to go 3 positions further back in yesterday's race. Today he gets to start second. This is an unknown. He might be faster than ever right now.
Yeah, and this morning in the warm-up he was pretty quick. He was only a couple tenths behind Jake Gagne. So I think now, I mean, obviously these guys learn these tracks so fast, especially a guy like Danilo. So he knows this place now as good as he's going to ever know it. So I think today, you know, if he can get a good start, and that's what we want to see. We want to see a head-to-head between all the Superbike guys, but especially Danilo and Jake Gagne.
Yeah, it's interesting how they found each other on the track a few times, but it hasn't worked out. Gagne had a crash while leading a few races ago in Atlanta, and then they ran into each other early at Road America, so we haven't seen every lap head-to-head, wheel-to-wheel, and now they're getting their last chance to survey this track on a sight lap. So that's the real question. Gagne was the best yesterday. He's been the best all weekend, but can Petrucci, with more laps in the books, can he challenge him today?
Yeah, and I mean, I said we all want to see a head-to-head between Jake Gagne and Danilo Petrucci. I think we want to see 4 go back and forth. I think that's what we would all like to see, but we haven't seen, you know, Danilo and then our past champion of last year come in and go head-to-head, and I think we're all waiting on that. And today's going to be a different day. The track temperatures are up. We've seen some people have some issues today.
And the way this season has gone, every time someone gets momentum, it flips the other way, usually by the very next weekend. So right now, Gagne has momentum, but as you saw in the standings, he is not the points leader this year. He needs to win these races. Gonna leave it all out there on the racetrack. Medallia Superbike is coming your way next.
MotoAmerica at Ridge Motorsports Park is sponsored by Dynapac, your compaction and paving equipment partner, designed to perform, built to last. By Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Starting grid for Medallia Superbike race number 2 from Ridge Motorsports Park here in Shelton, Washington. New track record for Jake Gagne yesterday when he went 139.145 in front of Petrucci and Cam Peterson, who moves from row 2 to the front row.
Actually, then we got Hector Barbera, Skoltz, and Richie Escalante. Let's hope that Richie can keep this thing up on 2 wheels today, as he had a small off yesterday. Yates, Anthony Gillum, Wyman, PJ Jacobson, and Andy DeBrino, the local guy. Couple podiums for him this weekend in Stock 1000. Corey Alexander, Flinders, Jeff May. Michael Gilbert, unfortunately, is a scratch from an incident earlier with Jeremy Coffey. Just behind him, Brandon Poston. We got Danilo Lewis, Bobier, Zaya Davis. Lampkin, who also isn't going to be with us today, unfortunately, Greg, after his off yesterday. You saw Hunter Dunham there as well, Volga Mermet. And Ryan Burke are going to round out the grid. We've got a big grid here. So I think for sure, towards the later stages of this race, Greg, we could see some traffic. It's a track that can get pretty congested, isn't it? So
it certainly is.
Petrucci coming from the second position instead of the second row could be big, Greg, if he can get that Ducati off the line ahead of that number 1.
16 laps, Medallia Superbike race number 2. When those lights go off, we're rolling. Petrucci with a little bit of movement, but no drama there.
Cam Peterson and Gagne both with tremendous starts. Look at Petrucci having a look. He's not going to be close enough. And again, Cam Peterson rides shotgun to his teammate as they get through turn 1. Looks like everybody makes through there safe, or that chicane, I should say. This is actually the turn 1 that we consider turn 1 and 2. You're going to see this big uphill, Greg, as they go up on top of this ridge. Again, turn 3, this is a very tricky off-camber right-hander into this left. That's where we saw Escalante make a small mistake yesterday. Now they're going to go ripping along here into turn 6. Back a couple of gears on these Yamahas up front, Greg. They actually go back to second, and they're going to upshift to third on the exit of this turn, and then they're going to go back to second when they get down to turn 8. This is turn 7, this little kink. Now they're going to go back to second here. So right now, the number 1 and 45, just like yesterday. Let's see if Skoltz can keep a hold of these front 3 guys a little bit more than he was capable of yesterday on that Westby Yamaha R1 also.
Yeah, Skoltz having a much better run at it early days in this race. But Gagne in that fresh and lean progressive Yamaha and his teammate right behind him versus Petrucci on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati V4R. And Jason, it looks like Cameron Peterson has definitely had a good night's sleep, woken up and thought about what he was able to see in the race yesterday. He's doing good, but it's these little sections, like going into these corners where Gagne just has the measure of everyone.
Gagne was in there a little bit deep, to be honest with you, that time. And he will tell us that when he sees us a little bit later. And the thing is that's why you see that gap close down a little bit. Cam has done a nice job at getting better at these opening laps. And that's something that as a racer, I think you have to work on. And you get that by getting the confidence in the motorcycle, the team, everything else that comes along with that. Confidence in the tires of being able to push them as hard as you can. And when you have a guy like Gagne who does this at the beginning, it could be really discouraging to continually see him just disappear out front. But already, Greg, we're looking right now. It was 0.6 of a second as they came across. Jamie?
Well, if you remember back to the race yesterday with the 2 red flags, we had 3 starts, and Cameron Peterson was able to be behind Jake Gagne for all 3 of them. And what he says that allowed him to do was watch the opening laps of Jake Gagne, figure out how it is that he's attacking the corners early on in the stent on the tire. And he used that information overnight to really think about things. Going into the race yesterday, Jake Gagne was able to be on full throttle 11 seconds longer per lap around this racetrack than what Cameron Peterson was. But after the race yesterday, they had that down to just under 5 seconds. So there's been a huge gain overnight for Cameron Peterson, Hannah.
And Jamie, there's definitely a sense of camaraderie under the Yamaha tent. You know, Cam Peterson and teammate Jake Gagne get along so well, and Jake said he knows everyone is going to step it up today, especially his teammate. He said otherwise, pretty much no changes to the bike. He's still feeling so comfortable. We saw it yesterday and once again at the start of this race. As far as the championship goes, he's really still taking things 1 race at a time. He just wants to get wins, stay consistent, and avoid mistakes.
You know, the thing is that when you see a guy disappearing like that out in the front, and you know your chances of catching him are so difficult, and this is what puts so much pressure on all of Gagne's competitors, isn't it, Greg? I mean, like, look at the lead he's already built up. He's did a 42.6 from a standing start. So this is going to be a low 40, a 39.8. Sorry,
39.8. That's another track record. That's the first time we've seen in-race competition of 39. So 39.8 for Gagne. But Jay, this is Gagne's race strategy. It's no mystery. Everybody knows what Gagne does. He goes out, he gets a good start, and he puts the pressure on for the first 4 to 5 laps. And then he sees where he is. When he's fresh, the tires are fresh, and he's got things dialed in. It's the magic that Gagne has on the brand new tires, even with a full fuel load, that he's able to really get out front and manage the race from there.
And, you know, going back to Jamie's report, as far as Gagne being on the gas longer and quicker than, as you see in the background there, I believe that's number 38 that had tipped off G-Dub. Being able to go back to an experienced crew and a team and look over the data and see where you can actually improve is such a huge benefit to just be able to sit there. Look at what Jake does on the same bike as you. So for Cam, he's just got to continue to learn that. And I've said in other telecasts that this is what Gagne did with Cam Beaubier. You know, the first year that Gagne signed with this team, he was off the back a little bit from Beaubier, much the same way that Cam has been a little bit with Jake. But as the year went on, Gagne would get a little bit closer, and it's the same thing again that we're seeing with Cam Peterson. The thing is, Petrucci looked to me like he had some pace on Cam Peterson for the first lap and a half or two, and now you can see Cam getting a little bit more comfortable. There are going to be places as we look here. It looks like Travis Wyman is down on the Tytler's BMW. It is Travis Wyman. This is going to be turn number 11. And looks like he's going back to pick something up from the motorcycle. So Travis Wyman down, but okay.
Only thing we're getting normally is an ECU. Got to get that or a dashboard. Now Gagne continuing to put the pressure on. He drops the pace down to 40.5, which is still incredibly quick. I believe it was a 140.1 was the track record set yesterday in race competition. Of course, Gagne broke the record of a 39.1 in qualifying. He had a 39.5 in qualifying from last year, but it was Cameron Beaubier from 2 years ago that had the race record. And so now Jake Gagne continues his run of breaking track records, of which, Jason, back in 2020, we thought what Cameron Beaubier was doing was unbeatable. And then Gagne went out and kept doing it. And it's just a testament to his skill on a motorcycle, as well as that crew continuously refining and refining and refining their fresh and lean progressive Yamaha.
Good look at Matthew Schultz here, 41.4 the last time through. So he's about a half second off of what the guys in front of him are doing. And if you look just behind him on the Tytler's BMW in 5th, that is Hector Barbera with Richie Escalante just behind him as well. So for Matthew, this was a track that I thought Matthew might be able to be up there a little bit closer. So maybe they're just a little bit off on that setup on that Westby bike. Good look here at Hector Barbera, who's done a nice job, Greg. And we've talked about the Tytler's BMWs that we've seen repping around here, and Barbera, it seems like one weekend it'll be PJ doing a little better, the following weekend it'll be Hector Barbera doing a little bit better. Hector's actually been here before riding on that Scheibe BMW last year, if I recall, and PJ's never been here at all, so there's a little bit of a difference. PJ doing a lot better today though, running in 7th, although it looked like Ashton Yates had got by PJ. If you look at the back of our shot here, look for a white fairing. Now it didn't quite get it, but I think Ashton, who finished 6th yesterday, is doing a good job as well.
Vision Wheel M4 Star Suzuki's Richie Escalante in 6th place, trying to track Hector Barbera down. His teammate for this race is David Anthony, and he's back in 11th place, just got passed by Hayden Gillum. And Jay, yeah, there he is, Ashton Yates, the number 22. And Ashton, as you mentioned, riding for Scheibe Racing on that BMW. It's Aftercare Hayes. And then looking back a little further, what are you seeing?
I see in like, looks like PJ there, and it looks like Corey Alexander as well. Corey's on the stock 1000, so he's lining up his Superbike teammate actually. And this is a place, Greg, where the stock 1000 bikes can be competitive against Superbikes because of the lack of the long straightaways and things like that. So Corey's had a very good weekend. You see Hayden Gillum, another stock 1000 participant of ours as well, doing a really nice job.
Jamie?
And go back to Ashton Yates, talked about the really good run that he had yesterday, finished 6th. I talked to Steve Scheibe, and he said, you know, they've taken a mindset that they used last year when they had Hector Barbera on the bike, and that's kind of keep the bike at status quo. Then let the rider, in this case Ashton Yates, figure out how to make it better, and that's exactly what's happened from from yesterday to today, he was out there and he saw some areas where he can improve. So now they're just doing some small refinery. He was struggling at corner entry and the long duration turn. So they've been able to change some of the electronics to better suit him. But it's really just the progression of the rider. He has the least amount of Superbike experience of anybody in the field, but he's really doing a good job of making some solid gains this season.
Yeah, Ashton Yates just doing a fantastic job in 7th place. And it looks like Corey Alexander, the 23, on the Titler's Cycle Ride HVMC BMW M1000RR. So the white bike was an S1000RR. This is the M model of that motorcycle, and you can kind of see the visible difference when you're looking at the bodywork. But this is a rider right here, Corey Alexander. He's on the lips of a lot of people with his performance in the Yuasa Battery Stock 1000 class. Here's a young man, Corey Alexander, that needs to find his way into the Medallia Superbike class on a proper Superbike. As we continue to look at Escalante in 6th place on that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki. Escalante, a rookie in this class, hasn't gone perfectly for him, Jay, but we have seen moments of brilliance from Escalante as he continues to get used to this GSXR 1000 full-blown Superbike.
Yeah, the real shame for Escalante came yesterday because I thought he'd had a great weekend so far, Greg. On Friday, in that first practice session, he was up to speed very quickly, and he looked the most comfortable that I have seen him that early in a weekend. As we talk about someone who's very comfortable here, Gagne out front, 3.2 seconds, still running in the 40s. The only guy on the track at the moment running in the minute 40 bracket. But for Escalante, that small off yesterday put him on the back foot. Didn't get the information fully that we thought he would need. He did get to restart when we did have that 8-lap restart. His teammate Jake Lewis, unfortunately, we saw cause that second red flag yesterday. He is looking, Greg, like he's going to go back, have that hand looked at. He broke a couple bones. We saw a report on him very early this morning in that thumb or wrist area. So he's going to have that looked at. They've actually put David Anthony, who does some test work with the Vision Wheel M4 team. They've actually put Dave Anthony on Jake Lewis's bike today, and he's actually running 11th place.
Taking a look at Jake Gagne. Jay, the motorcycle moves around at times, but Jake likes it like that. And one of the characteristics of Gagne, he's one of the most, if not the most talented motocross rider we have in MotoAmerica road racing, especially in Medallia's Superbike class. Here's a rider in the middle of a Stock 1000 championship, was able to make a pro motocross national. He made the gate and scored points. But reason I bring it up is because Jake and I often talk about how much lower body, how much leg do you use, like in pro motocross, and he's very comfortable with being animated on the motorcycle, but at the same time, he's not doing anything to try to upset the chassis.
No, exactly right. And if you look at him, and I literally have talked to him about this before, and he's like, man, I'm using my feet and I'm using my ankles a lot more. All of us that ride street bikes out there, we have the frame guards on our bikes on the inside, and you can use your feet and ankles a lot to torque the bike around. That was something that Jake and I talked about, and he flat told me at VIR that some of the stuff that I was able to look at and see what he was doing is actually what he's doing. And that track that he qualified for that motocross national, Miller Motorsports Park, was one of the worst tracks and prep tracks too, because it was so rough and so gnarly. Our good friend and Jason Wygant and I have talked about, Weege does all of the pro motocross stuff, and I've actually heard them say that was literally one of the worst tracks. 4.3 seconds now is the gap to the next guy. And this, I mean, Greg, when you just see him getting on these rolls, man, it's just going to be so hard to imagine beating him. Look at this. Petrucci's done a really good job at keeping Peterson honest here, hasn't he? So these guys are about a half second off. Actually, Matthew Skoltz was a tick quicker than the two in front of him. Hannah, what you got?
Petrucci's finally getting a chance to stretch his legs and really get some consecutive laps here. Friday, with mechanical issues in both sessions, not a lot of time, and then yesterday with the shortened race and multiple restarts, it definitely is working against him trying to learn this track. Overall, he's working on some instability with the front, fighting chatter toward the end of the race, so working hard to manage that today. They're still navigating electronic issues as well, but I talked to the team and they said that issue is nearly resolved. It's about 80% better than it was just a few rounds ago.
Yeah, and then from here, we're going to a place that he knows and he likes a lot, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And so now is for Petrucci about where is he going to end up in this championship. He leads by 10 over Matthew Skoltz, so Jason currently Petrucci in third place, Scholz in fourth. So we know that Danilo is going to be looking to try to get around Cameron Peterson. But Jay, with that in mind, Cam Peterson is 17 points behind his teammate Jake Gagne, who runs the #1 plate. So as a teammate, and Cam Peterson talked about it at the top of the show, how there's a lot of synergy within the team, a lot of good vibes. You don't think Cam Peterson is thinking, well, #1, I want to make it a 1-2. Oh, is that Yates?
It looks like it could be. That would be my initial call, and it looks like it is. Ashton Yates tipping off out of 7th place. Let's hope that he's okay. Yep, he's going to get up and moving. That's a good sign. This young man, Greg, we've watched him from Junior Cup come through Super Sport. He's extremely, extremely talented. We remember yesterday he did such a nice job missing Jake Lewis the best he could, trying to see him figure out where it was that Ashton actually tipped off. But we haven't seen him do that much, have we? And it's a shame to see him do it today as he was on another good roll. This is going to be down into turn 11. He's in there a little bit deep. Yeah, you know what, Craig? It almost looked like he had a false neutral in there to me, the way that bike just tucked up underneath him, and he was trying to get the thing slowed down. Boy, these guys ride on the edge so much that if the bike doesn't quite go into gear, the amount of brake pressure they're putting on, it might increase a little bit if you can't get the bike to stop. So that's what it looked like. A lot of these Superbikes too, Greg, they go down to first gear for that corner.
Additionally, sometimes when you hit that false neutral, if you don't have your body positioned in the right place early enough, you kind of get into a position on the motorcycle that you're not used to under that brake pressure as well. Petrucci has gotten around Cameron Peterson. So just like that, here comes Danilo Petrucci, your championship points leader. With that move in terms of the championship, it's a 4-point difference between third place and second place. But it doesn't feel like at the moment that it's over. If Cam P can keep Petrucci in sight and latch on to the back wheel of this Ducati, we could have a fight all the way to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I thought a couple laps prior that if Petrucci could stay close enough to Cam through turn 9 and up over the hill, that Ducati's able to turn into turn 11 a little bit tighter. This is turn 13, so a couple corners back, we'll see the different lines that they have when they're now in this position. So not exactly sure where that pass happened. Could have happened even coming out of here onto that front straightaway into the chicane, hard braking area down there into that chicane, but we'll have to maybe see if we can find out where he made that pass.
And talking to Cameron Peterson earlier this weekend about his entire race distance and how he reacts during the different phases of the race, from the beginning, middle, towards the end, we've seen Cameron Peterson at times start to fade. And I asked him if it was physical, and he said, you know, what often happens to him, and this is where he's in the danger zone, is when he gets passed like this or he's chasing someone down, that he starts to get tight, he starts to get a little bit tense, and he starts to put a little bit more force into his forearms, into his hands, into his body position. So for him, it's a matter of staying relaxed and letting the entire process of riding this motorcycle around a racetrack flow. So this is the situation where Cameron Peterson is also trying to improve as a Medallia Superbike rider.
And this is one of the things too, I'm looking at our screens here, that Gagne's done a nice job with, is once he gets it out to a certain lead, he realizes that he just kind of has to run the pace of the guys in second. Looking at these first splits, Greg, the first 4 riders all have done 33 threes with the exception of Cam P at 33.4. So when you look at this right now, Gagne is going to be pitboard watching. He did a 41.1 the last time by. These both were at 41.4, and Cam Peterson's a 42.1, which means he probably made a mistake somewhere along that lap for Petrucci to get by. You can see Cam now is trying his best to close that back in. It looks like the Ducati's maybe a little bit better through the first sector, kind of even through the second, and then when we get into this third sector, we'll see what happens. So.
Well, and we talked about it before. Petrucci's getting quicker and quicker and quicker in terms of knowledge of the races, or the racetrack itself. But also the Ducati is really good with Petrucci's braking ability and then getting it off the corner. Now, Matthew Scholz, second in the championship by 10 points. As his team manager Chuck Giacchetto is pointing to the pit board, the information, letting Scholz know what's going on.
Still 3.3 back, but maybe we'll see if he's able to as the race goes on. This guy's very strong, so we'll see what he can do. Jamie?
Well, I was talking to Matthew earlier today, and he's brought up the point that he knew that this was going to be one of the races where they struggled out. If you looked at his results from last year, he had a 6th place finish and a 4th place finish. He already finished 4th yesterday, running 5th right now, or 4th again right now. And you would think that he'd be frustrated with that, concerned with it, but he said, no, I've got to look at the positives. Last year, he wasn't able to run any better than the 142s. This season, he's already been up into the 141, so they're going to take that as a positive, that they've been able to make some gains and just minimize their losses here for this weekend, get on to the next race where they know that they can perform. The whole second half of the season are the tracks that he enjoys, so he's just trying to get through this one.
20 races total for Medallia Superbike competitors. This is race number 10. So at the halfway point of this season. So yeah, Jamie, 100%. They got to have the long view for the Westby team. No reason to throw in the towel or be upset about what's going on this weekend. Take those little victories and try to walk away with as many points as you possibly can. So Gagne continues to lead the way. Medallia Superbike race number 2, 5.6 seconds the margin between Gagne and Petrucci as we continue to watch Matthew Schultz. Jason, he still looks relaxed and looks comfortable on the motorcycle.
Yeah, it's just probably a little, Greg, when you've got those first 3 bikes up in front of you, it could just be a little bit of something that you missed. That's it. And for him right now, it looks like when he starts to get on the gas a little bit, the bike looks like it's snapping a little bit to me. Like I've seen it a couple times now. He's going to keep grinding these laps away. He's doing the same pace as the 3 guys in front of him, essentially. 41.3 that time. Kind of the damage has been done. Those guys have kind of gotten away from him, and he's going to keep pushing as hard as he possibly can. He's not worried about the guys behind him. He's got nobody back there. As he comes up, goes here through turn 2, up over the crest of this hill, turn 3. Got to be really careful with how you modulate throttle up over the top of that hill. And you're going to let the bike just run through here, up off the edge in second gear, up to third, up to fourth. And then again, back to second. You can see how much the bike just moves around. There's nowhere to rest here. It's a very, very physical racetrack, is the Ridge. And so for Matthew, he's just going to keep trying to grind these laps out. He actually just right now has ran his personal best sector in that sector 1. Close to 10th back down on them, but they're 3.3 seconds up in front of him, and with 5 laps to go, Greg, it's going to be an ask. He can still see them guys up there, though.
Definitely comfortable when the tire starts to spin. Matthew Schultz, second in this championship, and it looks like he's having fun, Jay. I know he's probably frustrated sitting back there, and he can see Camp P up ahead of him. As we start to ratchet back now, this is the battle for 5th place between Hector Barbera and Richie Escalante. And so the Tytlers cycle rider Hector Barbera trying to hold off the advances of Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki's Richie Escalante. And what can you say about Richie Escalante and Hector Barbera? Jason, for Escalante himself, he ended up last season thinking he was going to be on this team on a super sport machine of some sort. And then as things would happen, he ends up on a superbike. And for Escalante, changed up his training program. He's been trying to put on a couple of kilos here or there to manage the extra horsepower and, of course, weight and power of the GSX-R 1000.
Yeah, and you think about it, Escalante's done a really nice job. We haven't really seen him make too many mistakes this year. Coming into your rookie season on a superbike with a very experienced team that he has, he's been able to kind of put some good rides together. I feel like here at the Ridge, Craig, he's definitely made a step.
Jamie, what about Richie Escalante?
Well, to your point of trying to manage the weight of this bigger bike, one of the things he wanted to work on today and clean up from the rest of the weekend is just being more aggressive on the directional change. He said he felt like his entry was good, his exit off the corners are good, but he doesn't do a good job of managing the bike through the corners. So that's what he wanted to work on. And then the other thing he had to say was that if they could come out of this with a top 5 finish, that would almost be like a victory for the team. He couldn't thank the guys enough for getting that bike back out onto the track so he could finish the race yesterday, get a little bit more experience, but right now he's on the outside of the top 5 looking in, and you can tell from the way he's riding, he really wants it.
Yeah, and the physical aspect of it, this is a track where he's really going to be able to test that, because this is the most physical track I think that we go to, or at least one of them, Greg, I would say. The thing is that here's the battle again for second place, but to close that chapter on Escalante, I feel like it looks like he's almost got a little bit of pace on Hector. What do you think?
I think so.
Just a little bit.
And he's definitely trying to figure out his lines versus what the BMW is doing. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out for the next 3.5 laps. As for this battle for second place between Petrucci and Cameron Peterson, it looked for a little while that Petrucci may have been able to eke away from Peterson, but Camp P able to reel Petrucci back in.
With 3 laps to go, I think that we got to pay attention to where do we think that this could happen? Where is it that we think on this track that Camp Peterson's going to be able to size up that Ducati of Petrucci just in front of him now? There are a couple places, again, Greg, like you run down through here, and depending on how well you have your bike working and geared, you could maybe get up alongside of somebody or do something with them as they get to turn 6. If you can't get it done here, you're starting to look at towards turn 11, but you've got to get through the dip in turn 9 as good as you can. See how much better the Ducati looks like it looks through the middle of that corner as opposed to Cam. He pulls away from him a little bit there. Then Cam does a nice job of kind of drawing him back in this little section. But then the Ducati, again, once they get through this next right, it's pretty funny because Petrucci all weekend long hasn't really got over the top of that apex in 9 just because it's probably just a comfort thing. Today, it looks like he is doing that a little bit more. But into here, you see how tight Petrucci is? It's going to be difficult for Cam to go through on him there. So, again, it's going to take a pretty creative pass. Now, keep in mind also, not that you can kind of see Matthew back there. Schultz just ran a 41.1, his fastest lap of the race. Closed in 0.6 of a second on that last lap to these two guys. He's 2.8 back, but I think he's going to run out of time with just sort of 2 laps and a couple corners to go.
International battle between the Italian Petrucci last year in MotoGP. Cameron Peterson from South Africa. You can see the motorcycle. That's one of the things that Camp P is working on, Jay, is like Jake Gagne being able to get it up on the meat of the tire as quickly as possible.
But if you look there, Gagne goes over that paint on the right, so he gets the bike up right a little bit sooner and goes over that paint straight up and down and then turns the bike onto the front straightaway. Both these guys are kind of going around that red and white paint that does have some stutter bumps to it. So it's a comfort thing. It's a thing where maybe these two bikes don't feel as good going over that, but those are the small little areas where Jake Gagne is just a little bit better, and he's able to cut the track a little bit more there, and those are 10th here, 2/10 there, and that's why you see him right now with a 6.2 second lead and just controlling the pace at the front.
Looking at this battle for second place between Petrucci on the number 9 and Cam Peterson on the 45, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what does Cameron Peterson have underneath him to fight with? How much edge grip does he have? If he can get himself closer to Petrucci here on this final lap, as they're kind of halfway through this corner, this lap, there's only about a lap and a half to go. What do you have? Does he have the front tire to try to outbrake Petrucci? Does he have the edge grip to try to outcorner him? It doesn't look like Cam Peterson has anything right now that we can clearly see that would mean he's got an advantage in one part of the racetrack. But then again, here comes this guy. As he run out of time, the number 11, Matthew Schultz. Jason, you called it, but he's reeling him in. Visibly, we can see that he is getting really close to these two. And Cam P might have his eyes looking forward, but his pit board better tell him that Schultz is closing fast, because his strategy is going to be a little different. Here is the white flag. Final lap, Medallia Superbike race number 2 for Jake Gagne, who's had it all his way from the lights going out.
Yeah, it's just hard, you know, when you're battling a guy that's as experienced as Danilo Petrucci. Even if Cam has the tires underneath him, it's still going to be a big ask to go by. And you can see Matthew Schultz continuing to just plug these laps away and working hard. He sees those two up in front of him, so he's literally running the exact same times. He's 2.4 back. Petrucci looks to have this race for second under control, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't think Cam's going to be close enough to him anywhere, and Petrucci's going to be wise on the fact of where the 45 might be able to try to make a pass, and I don't think Petrucci's going to allow that to happen.
Well, in the unusual and extreme heat up here in the Pacific Northwest, Danilo Petrucci and his Ducati are maximizing his points lead over Matthew Schultz. But the question is, what's going to be the points gap between Jake Gagne, who's trying to close it up? It's 5 points between first and second place.
And when you hear this guy talk about not thinking about the championship, it sounds so cliche to say that. He really doesn't think about it. He just gets out of here. He goes back home to Colorado. He does his thing, shows back up at the race on Thursday, puts it down to business on Friday. I know you've had multiple discussions with him about how much happier he is and the move that he made from California to Colorado. And when he gets on these kind of rolls where he's just comfortable, you've got to shake this guy up and make him uncomfortable. Otherwise, we might see this for the rest of the season.
Not uncomfortable today, quite comfortable and happy is Jake Gagne. As he comes onto the start-finish line, he'll take the checkered flag and get another win on the season. In second place will be Petrucci. Right behind him, Cam Peterson and Matthew Schultz in tow. So a 4.5 second victory for Gagne over Petrucci, and another 5 points clawed back in this championship for Gagne, who still sits third. And coming across the stripe, it's Hector Barber and Richie Escalante. Escalante just outside that top 5, but in 6th place.
Look at Gillum. Gillum has actually caught Corey Alexander. He was 2.5 seconds back at one point. Tyler's BMW trying to get by that Suzuki, and it's not going to happen. Hayden Gillum holds off. A couple stock 1000 bikes, Greg, finishing 7th and 8th. You're going to see PJ Jacobson roll across in 9th, and it looks like David Anthony right now should round out our top 10.
You want to find that stock 1000 race from today, because that Hayden Gillum, Corey Alexander race that just happened has a backstory to it from the Yuasa Battery Stock 1000 class. As for this guy, the #1 plate, it's what we talked about. It's that first series of laps, the 39.8 and the goon riding. And look at those laps in the first 7 that he put down, as Gagne's having so much fun riding this motorcycle. And I mentioned it yesterday, Jason, it's not just winning for Gagne that makes it fun. It's when the entire team, the hard work, it clicks together, and he has a motorcycle that he can do anything he wants with, put it anywhere on the racetrack. It's just so much fun for Gagne.
Yeah, he just loves riding, and we've seen him struggle. You know, again, Greg, this is a guy that's been around for a while. We've seen him win championships. We've seen him struggle. We've seen him go to World Superbike and struggle. It's a big grandstand to his left right now, and they have been pretty packed. Friday, I couldn't believe how many people were here, so he's over there thanking everybody for showing up. Ridge has done a nice job of creating some spectator areas in a track that otherwise would be pretty hard to get to, so big win for Gagne.
We'll hear what he has to say about his 4.5-second victory when we come back. We're back here in the booth. Jason Wygant and Roger Hayden. Jason Wygant, Roger Hayden here, and nothing changed. The Jake Gagne strategy, it's back. He blitzed the first couple laps, but what's honestly alarming is even if he would be saying he quote-unquote managed it from there, he was still going really fast.
Yeah, even when he backed it down, he was doing the same pace as the other guys, and you know, just doing what he does, and just gets out to a nice lead. His last lap was obviously a little bit slowed, so the lead was a little bigger than that, but just does those laps, and I talk about it every week, just like he does in practice and qualifying. Gets right up to speed, throws those laps in, gets a 5-6 second lead pretty quick, and then just kind of rides smart from there, doesn't make any mistakes, and has got himself right back in the middle of this championship.
I think there was some talk they found something better, a little more front-end feel of the motorcycle. That's pretty scary because they'd already had been winning races at a pretty decent clip earlier in the year, but he might be stronger than ever, which is saying a lot for someone who has the #1 plate in this Medallia Superbike class. We wanted to see how much improvement Danilo Petrucci could make as he continues to learn this track. It was an improvement, at least results-wise, moving up to the #2 spot.
Yeah, and his pace yesterday looked like he had the same pace as Cam Peterson, so I wasn't, you know, totally surprised with that. I'll tell you who was having a good race toward the end of the race was Matthew Sculp's. I mean, if he could take away those first 6 or 7 laps, he definitely had the pace of Danilo and Cam Peterson, and actually, you know, was about 3.5 seconds back at one time, and at the end of the race is only 2.2 back. So hopefully him, whatever they were struggling with this weekend, that he kind of get that sorted out. But, you know, it's the same podium as yesterday, and it just shows you how competitive this class is. Every race weekend is totally different.
Yes, and we'll go to a totally different type of racetrack with Laguna Seca next on the list. Another round to talk about, Richie Escalante making some progress. Good battle with Hector Barbera. Barbera has been a podium-level rider, so for Escalante, 6th on the board maybe doesn't look good, but he was riding well.
Yeah, and if, you know, Escalante looks 19 seconds behind the leader, and that's what he just has to keep closing. I mean, earlier in the year it was close. Some of them were close to 30, and just keep getting closer as the year goes on. Had a rough weekend yesterday, big crash, and come back today and, you know, have a good showing, and hopefully he's starting to figure that Superbike out.
Yep, so good job by the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. Here they are. You always see this sportsmanship between Gagne and Petrucci. There's been battles and rivalries and drama between almost every rider on the grid, but these two have been pretty good the whole time. And Petrucci downloading with his team, figuring everything he learned here in his first ever visit to the Ridge. He will maintain the series points lead. Solid performance there. Just catching Gagne is going to be a tall order, but he did everything else he could do.
Yeah, he did everything he could, and, you know, now we go to a track that he's been to before. So one thing he won't have to do is learn that track at Laguna Seca, so that's going to be – he has to be excited about that, where, you know, he's going to go to a track where he doesn't have to spend the first couple laps learning it. He's already going to know.
Yeah, and he had raced at Coda before with MotoGP and dominated there, but Gagne had bike problems. So maybe, we just keep saying this every week, maybe next race will be the one where you see Gagne and Petrucci really battle it out all the way down to the checkered flag. Right now, it's time for podiums here at Ridge Motorsports Park. We'll send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore. Heading into victory lane, our 10th Medallia Superbike race of 20 for the season is done and dusted. And Jake Gagne with another victory, his 22nd in his career. And Jason, a lot of people forget that Gagne only started winning Medallia Superbike races last season. He had 17 of 20 last year. Here's the margin of victory, 4.5 seconds, and Campi is second behind Petrucci. Schultz credited with fourth, and a nice battle between Barbara and Escalante ends up in Hector Barber on that BMW M1000 in fifth. That means it's time for us to get down to Hannah with our winner.
A near perfect weekend for Jake Gagne, pole position and double victories. Jake, with such success, is there anything that you would have liked to do differently?
No, man. I mean, it's just been an amazing weekend for this whole crew. I mean, like I said, you know, we've had a rough start to the year. I keep saying that, but you know, one race at a time is all we can do. And we did our work this weekend. We had a great bike for the race. I got off to a bunch of good starts, which really helped, because I know if these guys could have threw it in there on those first couple laps, there would have no doubt about it. And so I just tried to put my head down and, yeah, had a good first 5 laps, and then from then on could kind of just manage it. And again, hats off to Fresh and Lean, Progressive, Yamaha, Attack Performance, the whole crew. These guys are working their butts off, and I'm having so much fun racing motorcycles. Yamalube, Yamaha Financial Services, Rye Helmets, Top on Stars, everyone watching at home, all the fans again for sticking it out in the heat, all these kids, man, yeah, great weekend. So we'll roll on to the next one.
2 in a row here. Looking ahead, we've got Laguna coming up and Brainerd coming up. You did the double both weekends there. Could this be the start of another win streak for Jake Gagne?
I don't know, win streak or not, like I said, I'm just one race at a time, one session at a time, and just keep doing our work. And again, thanks to this whole crew, because we're having a lot of fun, and I got a lot of trust in these guys, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people around me. And so thank you, everybody, for sticking it out here, and roll on.
Congrats, Jake. Let's get over to Jamie.
It was a double podium weekend for Danilo Petrucci, so he can maintain his championship points lead as we look ahead to Laguna Seca. But this weekend, it came with some struggles. You had to work your way through, learn the racetrack. At this point in the weekend compared to when it started, how much better do you feel on this Ducati?
Oh, it has been really tough weekend. We face a bit of issues every session, and I'm happy to go away with 2 podium for sure. Jake, both yesterday and today was unbelievably fast, especially at the beginning. And we had to do some small changes every session, and I'm struggling to find the limit of the bike. But yeah, happy to go away, happy to have been racing here. And I cannot wait to go to Laguna. Thanks to all the fans to stay here. It has been really tough today with the heat. I don't imagine to stay watching us around the track. Thanks everyone.
It certainly was a hot one. Congratulations on another podium, our championship leader, Danilo Petrucci. Hannah?
3rd place today goes to Cameron Peterson. And Cam, Greg and Jason were wondering toward the end of the race what kind of bike you had underneath you. Did you have the front tire or the edge grip to try and make a move on Petrucci?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough race, you know. For some reason, I just wasn't able to do the laps like I did yesterday. You know, there was a certain part towards the end of the race where, you know, behind Danilo, the laps kind of slowed down a little bit, and I felt like I was able to do something. And I was kind of like waiting for on the last lap, and I had a big moment coming out of, I think it was 5, and he just got that little bit of a gap. So, yeah, not too happy with today, but you know, always looking for more. And but I can't thank the team enough, the whole Fresh and Lean, Progressive, Yamaha Attack, Yamaha Financial Service, Yamalube, Rye Helmets, Alpine Stars, everybody in my corner, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks to everybody for sticking it out, and we'll see you next year.
Congrats, Cam.
Well, disappointment for Cam Peterson, but he'll be back to fight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We'll be back here after this.
To 13 laps ahead of us as these riders come down onto the grid. And the race winner's trophy goes to Kenzie Matadera. So Matadera got the win last time out. We then saw an inside line, but Medallia defending hard and defending fairly. Into the final sequence of corners, he is under the most immense pressure. Kenzie Medallia wins again at the Ridge Motorsports Park. Jesse James Shedden in second place. And a nice round of applause for Joshua Raymond, who completes the podium. Junior, and the race win and the trophy and the 25 points to Nathan Gauka. It is the 110 main event then. Revs are going to rise in a second. Watch for the lights. 10 laps and away we go, and a terrible start from the front row of the grid for Matt McGluggage. The front wheel comes up from Gauka, hard on the brakes again, doesn't drop the leg, keeps it nice and steady. Watch for McGluggage, watch the chatter, he bounces it on the front end. Oh, incredible stuff, the front end chatter. A mistake from Lupo Jr. on the final lap. Makes some noise, the race wins to the number 12, Anthony Lupo Jr.
Great stuff over there at the kart track part of the Ridge Motorsports Park as we brought out the little ovales for the Mini Cup brought to you by Motul, getting the seeds planted for another generation of great American road racers. And we will actually do it again here with a new class for 2022, and that is the 250cc Aprilias as part of our North America Talent Cup. So we'll get to that at the top of the next hour. But right now, we're going to have an additional wrap-up for Medallia Superbike. We'll send it back to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
MotoAmerica at Ridge Motorsports Park is sponsored by Dynapac, your compaction and paving equipment partner. Designed to perform, built to last. By Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Celebrations begin at the Ridge Motorsports Park after Medallia race number 2, Medallia Superbike race number 2 here in the Pacific Northwest. Jason, breaks our heart to leave this area. It's so beautiful here. This racetrack is so good.
Yeah, it's really, really good, Greg, and it's obviously very billboard smooth, so makes for great grip, great racing. I mean, great racing if you're number 1. He just gets out these starts, and I'm really curious. You know, we've been saying it for 2 years now. Who is going to be able to go with him on those first 5 or 6 laps? Because he just breaks your will. I mean, he just gets out to these 3, 4, 5 second leads, and then he just puts it into control mode. Petrucci did a nice job today, I thought, Greg, getting through on Cam Peterson, holding the 45 off and actually pulling away a little bit at the end. It's a difficult track to learn, this one, and Petrucci, as we've heard, didn't get to do as many laps, I think, as he would have liked to have done, especially on Friday. So, you know, it's experiences coming through there for him to get a 3rd and a 2nd, keep trying to defend that championship points lead that he's got. But again, it's all about the number 1.
Our coverage continues of Medallia Superbike for MotoAmerica from the Ridge in a moment.
So we're the official lubricant of King of the Baggers, Motul USA. We're here in the garage conducting some R&D. We have our RBF 700. This is specifically a racing formulation of brake products. We put these products through rigorous testing through Dakar, through MotoGP, and now King of the Baggers. So that way when we get those products to the shelves to the consumer, they're race-proven, championship-winning products.
I know personally for me, whenever I competed on a motorcycle that didn't have the Motul brake fluid, whenever it would get hot, we'd get brake fade or you'd get brake bubbles. Like you would always experience issues that you would have to fight and battle, and that's just a waste of time. In order to go fast, I have to stop fast. So I always insist that my team puts the best Motul brake fluid into my bike, and I never have any issues or any fade, and it helps me go good. I got top 5 today.
One thing that is very important to us is reliability on the products that we use. And we use Motul oil in the motorcycle. We use Motul brake fluid in the brakes. We need the best of the best to get every piece of performance we can out of these motorcycles. And with Motul, we know we're going to get that. We can't have motors breaking, we can't have brake fade. And with Motul products, we know we're going to get the best of the best, and that's why we run them.
VP Racing Fuels, the official fuel of AMA Pro Motocross, MotoAmerica, and American Flat Track. No matter what motorcycle you race or ride, amateur or pro, we have a fuel to make more power. Keep your bike running cool with VP Stay Frosty Coolant, available in 2 formulas, race ready, designed to be glycol free and track approved, and high performance with freeze protection for street applications. Visit vpracingfuels.com to learn more.
Introducing Champ U from Yamaha Champions Riding School. Champ U brings you the skills taught at our 2-day in-person Champ School program and delivers it to you in a flexible, easy-to-use online format at a fraction of the price. Become a more confident rider with 40 videos, 30 drills, and 40 quizzes created by our world-class instructors. Each one is designed to give you more control over your motorcycle so you can safely have more fun on the road or track. Get it today for our intro price of just $49.95.
We're back here, Mount Rainier, still snow-capped even in the summertime. So if you're going to pick a race, if you don't live in an area to maybe make a vacation and make the trip worthwhile, coming to the Ridge for MotoAmerica, not a bad way to do it. Jason Weigandt and Roger Hayden here in the booth. Big thanks to Michael Hill, who's been doing the heavy lifting out on the racetrack. It's gotten pretty hot out here today, and that probably has had an effect. Certainly have to make some changes to the motorcycles, but in the end, didn't make a huge difference in Superbike. Jake Gagne still owned it.
Yeah, I mean, that really didn't seem like it upset that race much. I'm sure it was a lot more greasy compared to the other races and even on Friday, but the race kind of played out how we expected. And I'm looking forward to Laguna. It's a track that everybody loves, and I think we're going to see some good battles.
Yeah, and Danilo Petrucci has raced on that track before, so that might tighten the gap up just a little bit more. They're not done next door. We'll send it back to G-Dub and JP. Wrapping up the day about an hour and a half southwest of the great city of Seattle. In case you're interested in coming back, Mount Rainier, still snow on top this part of the year. It was hot down here in the 90s, but what an absolutely stunner of a racetrack. Jason Pridmore, they've done a fantastic job in welcoming MotoAmerica to the Pacific Northwest. So the second year of this asphalt too, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So we've been waiting for, it's 11 points now, as Jake Gagne has gone from third to second in this championship as Schultz slides to third. What do you think?
I can hardly wait till Laguna Seca because it's a place that Petrucci is just itching to go to. Track that he already knows from his MotoGP days. Gagne is going to be strong, as we know, as are all our competitors. I think Cam's going to have a good weekend, as we'll get Matthew back up there as well. So, man, what do we got? 2 weeks?
Week and a half
before we show up. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I know Petrucci is really looking forward to it. The rest of the season, this is what MotoAmerica 2022 looks like. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, July 8th through 10th. Then we go to Brainerd International. a track that I know Petrucci has tested. Then we go Pit Race Jersey and Barber Motorsports Park. Well, that'll do it for us from the Ridge Motorsports Park for the weekend. Great racing and implications for the championship as the year rolls on. For Hannah and Jamie and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks so much for checking out our coverage of Medallia Superbike race number 2. You can find out more information at MotoAmerica.com and stay with us for the rest of the 2022 season. That's it from the Ridge Motorsports Park. See you in a couple weeks.